running. All right. Mm. Okay. Wow. All right. So I think I'm going live, and I'm live, I think. All right, beautiful ones. So beautiful to be here to share this. I'm so excited. I think I am up and all looks good. All looks good. I'm so excited. All right. All right. So, thank you so much for joining me here. If you are live or on the replay, please just let me know, say hello, and thank you so much for joining me here. So, today is a special day because I'm trying something new out, and I'm really, really excited to kick this off with episode one of Taking It Out of the Tea Room. So I'm having a little bit of fun here. So if this really, really landed for you and you really enjoyed it, please let me know. And that will give me so much little sacral hits and juiciness so that I would keep doing this and have fun with it and really, really the intention simply is to hopefully be able to inspire you to really bring some of the context of what I do into this space and show you how it lands for me in my own life as well. So, why is this called taking it out of the tea room? If you are new to my space, if you're new to my world, thank you for being here. Welcome. And the ones who have been with me for a while, thank you. I see you. I love you. Because I think for the ones who's been here, you probably know a little bit about the work that I do. For all of you who are new, my name is Ling, and I am a Chadao ceremonial keeper. I'm also a spiritual mentor to what I love to call the multidimensional feminine leaders. And how I work is going to be something I'll drop into in a bit, but just to start off, the word Chadao is the way of tea in English. And it is not something that is just the act of having tea in a ceremony or the act of tea meditation or drinking a cup of tea every day in silence. Like, it's all of that and it's so much more. It is really a way of living in harmony with yourself, in harmony with nature, and therefore with everything else around you. So, that sense of harmony is truly a balance act. It's an act of balance where once you start to feel that tipping towards the external circumstances, you kind of know when to reel it back in and activate and hone in on your authentic personal power. So the way of tea is a beautiful, almost like this fluid way of moving in ceremony in the tea room that you can start to really bring out to the world. So today I want to drop into a very specific topic so that you can see how it applies from the ceremony and then out into the world. So I think I wrote in the description, I need to look at it myself, that I want to talk a little bit about how we can relinquish control over every single aspect of our lives and still have the best, most beautiful life ever. And I want to drop into a share first and foremost, so that I can give you the context and you can really feel into the power of this extraordinary transformation that took place behind closed doors in the tea room and how it has rippled out into my own life. So when I go back in time to the place where I really was, in not in a really good place. Some of you know this story. I have always grown up in a way where my energy and my focus is always very much towards the outside of who I am. And a lot of those things pretty much look like, what would they want me to achieve? How would they want me to live my life? How would they desire me to act, to dress, to talk? All of these things really constituted who I was back in the days when I was really very much unconscious of how much of who I was determined by external factors. And so the result of that was I was very much a living, breathing ragdoll. I was very, very affected and influenced by emotions that were around me, and there were a lot of expectations that would determine how I pursued my career, how I would do things. But I think what really I firmly feel so true for me is that the universe has always had my back in a huge way. And you can call it the universe, the highest self. For me, it's pretty much the same thing, because somehow, in one way or another, I would run into situations where, for example, um, I really grew up wanting, desiring to get a degree in journalism, in writing. And obviously, because, growing up in a Chinese culture and growing up in a Chinese background where, it's so important to make sure that you have a livelihood and that you have money and finance backing you up, and make sure you go out into the world and you have that success that is very, very much about, becoming a lawyer, becoming an accountant. So what happened was that, obviously I was like, I really want to be a writer. I really, if I could choose, I would just go ahead and I would take a degree in literature, in English literature. Actually, I would have loved that. However, obviously, parental objections ruled over every decision I ever had. And what I ended up doing was I ended up going into marketing. I earned a degree in business in marketing, and it's so funny because I would never have thought that would be possible, but that's what happened. And so once I actually got out of university, I really had a desire to work and live in London. I was studying in Manchester, and after 3 years in Manchester, I was like, okay, I really want to start working, finding a job in London. I would give anything I could. I would live in a little flat if I could. And the funniest thing about it is that when I graduated, the external circumstance didn't look really good. And I remember thinking like, wow, I really, really want this. But then the world is going to shiz, basically, because it was the year that the economy meltdown happened. And it created this fear that maybe they wouldn't want me because I only have a degree in marketing. I am not some finance expert. I don't have any of that background in me. And lo and behold, after, even though I did try, even though I did put my applications in and all of that, I never got a position that really, accepted my application and said, hey, you've got a job. So I ended up returning back home, which is Malaysia. So if I could look back in hindsight, to be honest, the energetics behind that was already a mismatch. If you can see what I'm seeing here right now in hindsight, because what I was saying in my heart of hearts is that I really want that. I really want to create this. I really want to have that life in London, living there, having a job, and all of that. However, there was that wobble in me that I really felt, pretty much zero confidence that I would actually get a job, but I went ahead and did it anyway. So this is the pattern, that was the pattern I was always in. Like I was always the one who was getting into a place of like I would charge forward into what I want anyway, but then there was always that energetic mismatch of like, I don't think I can get this because I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough for this. So flash forward, miraculously, I ended up going home, and when I went home, I found I was diagnosed with anorexia. So I was very much entrenched in eating disorders, and what that led me to mentally, my mental health was down the drain because of that. I didn't want to really socialize. I was keeping to myself. I was obsessive with cutting calories and over exercising and just really beating myself up through that starvation and working out really excessively. Like that was like I can still remember until today how it felt like to have that hectoring voice in me that was telling me that you gotta work harder. You're not doing good enough. You gotta do better. This is not good enough. Work harder, more, more, more. Cut your calories, eat less, less, less. You're better if you can cut less. If you cut down your food, if you are better if you can work out another half an hour more. And so what ended up happening was I spent most of my day exercising. I would spend almost like 3 freaking hours at least running high intensity workouts, and then I would get so exhausted that I would end up sleeping for hours after that, and then have one meal a day. um, and the meal that we're talking about is like literally nothing. It was like fruits and things like that. And I count my blessings every day that I'm still alive today. I don't know how my body sustained itself, to be honest. I really am so grateful that I actually got through all of that, and I'm thriving and recovered right now. To to say the least of it is that that fuels me, and it supports me to believe that I am the proof of concept that the work of integrating mind, body, and spirit is so profoundly transformational. But I'll get to that in a bit. But, just going back to that time, I was really depressed and I didn't want to do anything that compromised my sanity. But I eventually came to a point where, I was applying for jobs, and there was this point where I was like, you know, the writing jobs are not going to pay the bills. And so those were little freelance jobs that I picked up along the way. So in the end, I applied for a job in marketing, putting my degree to use. And I ended up doing that for a year. And after a year, my heart, my soul was speaking so loudly and it's just saying that I just can't see myself doing this forever. So I might as well quit now and actually go and pursue what I really want to do. And so, divinely timed in a way, what happened was I was in marketing, and in the marketing department, we organized events where we would sit with the media and we'll talk to the media. And at that time, I can still remember I was very specifically keyed in on title, one magazine title that I knew I wanted to work with and nobody else. Like I remember there were days when, my mom would say, maybe you could try this or that, and I'm like, I if I went into that world, that's the title. That's the title I want to work with, and that's it. And divine timing obviously always is so magical because I ended up hosting a media event and I got to know the beauty editor because, I was working with a beauty firm, and we started chatting and she said she was looking for an intern. And at that time, I really felt like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna drop in and just do it. And despite the fact that I was probably the oldest intern ever and earning nothing close to my peers who were doing excellent work in the finance world, in engineering, in oil and gas and all of that, I was the happiest ever. I was the happiest ever just clearing out things in the storeroom and looking at beauty products, soaking it in, really learning what brands are out there. And eventually, I was asked to start writing, helping the beauty writer out. And from there, I got spotted. I got talent spotted by the editor in chief, and I got to start writing more, bigger pieces, bigger articles, bigger features, and eventually, I was given um, the opportunity to travel on press trips, and even though by 1 year in, there wasn't a vacancy for me, and I had to leave because I thought another date and I probably have to go somewhere else now. I never lost that connection with the editor in chief. And so after that, I eventually got hired when the vacancy opened up. And it was some of the best years of my life. And even though I was still recovering from eating disorders, I was having all these yo yo recoveries. I'm gonna tell you this, the 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 eating disorders that just really was showing up so profoundly for me throughout those almost like 10 years of my life is really a manifestation of my dire need at that time to have some sense of control over my life when it felt like I couldn't deal with the uncertainties. And the reason why I want to share this story today is because what I really learned when I was flash forward, living an amazing life in Hong Kong, living in one of the best places ever, having my own apartment, and starting off in a great, loving relationship, and still sitting there wondering, there must be more to this. Happiness and fulfillment, I realize, doesn't come with achieving your goals. And if anyone resonates with this, I welcome you and invite you to really drop in to the comments, or maybe if you feel shy, you can DM me and share your experience. I really profoundly realized that achieving goals after like one goal after another is not truly the answer to living a life that is in harmony, that gave me inner peace, that gave me a sense of reverence for myself, and ultimately self love. It didn't give me that. And when I had, it looked on the surface like I had all the things, and I'm so grateful that I had, I found myself getting down on my knees and asking, universe, show me something more. I feel like there's something more, but I don't know what it is. Can you show me a sign? And very swiftly after that prayer was sent, that intention was set, I received an invitation, a media invitation to attend and experience a tea ceremony. And that tea ceremony was actually taking place just a few floors below my office, which is quite crazy when you think about how divine that is. I went to the tea ceremony. I went into that beautiful urban sanctuary. I'm so sad that it's closed down right now, but back then it was everything to me. I went there, I sat in the tea ceremony, and when I was served the first bowl of tea, my heart literally, for the first time in my entire life, felt like I have finally come home. And when I picked up that bowl of tea, I can't tell you enough how deeply loved I felt, even though it didn't make any sense. But I felt like this is what home feels like. And when I drank the tea, I remember hearing tea spirits speak to me so profoundly that you have to go out and serve tea. You have to drop everything you know and serve tea. And I carried that with me until today. I still go back to that message because every day it takes on a deeper meaning for me. You know, at that time when I walked into a tea ceremony and walked out feeling profoundly changed, it echoes that sentiment that we hear a lot in the way of tea, which is ichigo ichie or ichi ihui, which means one chance, one encounter. And what that really means and embodies is at every moment you are changed. At every moment you are different. At every moment we are evolving, and in that 1 minute you are a different person to the one prior. And so the one that walked into the ceremony was changed when she walked out. And it felt so true because for a person like me who's never felt peace in her life ever, who's always felt like she had to chase and chase and chase one goal after another, have to be better than you were before, and feeling never enough, never good enough, it was a profound realization that landed in me that I get to be loved in this way. That feeling of home within me, that's really possible because I can feel it. Like I was mesmerized, and I have to be honest, after that beautiful experience that didn't make any sense to me, like I had no spiritual, I had I had no idea what spirit guides are. I don't have any clue like what elevate your consciousness even is, like no clue, none. And yet I couldn't stop thinking about that moment. And if I were to try, I couldn't even put a word on what it was that stirred up in me until today. But I remember feeling into it. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was telling my colleagues about it. My colleague who sat next to me was so sick and tired of me speaking about it that she was like, why don't you just go and ask them if they're taking students or if they teach this? I was like, oh, I can't possibly, because who am I to do that? Like nobody in my family has done it, and nobody I know has done it. Like who am I? And I am possibly the girl in the family who's best known to be like a bull in a china shop. Like who am I to do something so graceful? And yet the calling was so strong. It was just like I'm so mesmerized, I'm so intrigued by this stillness that I sensed and felt and experienced, like this love, the vibration of love that I felt, the vibration of love that I felt. Oh, it's like a warmth in my heart, a warmth in my belly, a warmth in my soul. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna just take the lift down and I'm gonna walk in and I'm gonna just ask if they're taking students, if they teach this sort of thing. And obviously, it's an urban sanctuary where they do more wellness facilitating than teaching. But she said that you can come and help me out. And, the first thing you ever have to do really to learn about tea or the way of tea is really to start drinking tea in this way and learn her language, learn how she speaks through the experience of drinking her in. And again, with divine timing, like I had this amazing opportunity to meet the teacher finally, and the teacher flew into Hong Kong. Like literally, I thought I had to fly out to Taiwan to see the teacher, but the teacher came to me. The teacher came to me. And I was at that very pivotal moment when love was so good that I was, invited by my boyfriend at the time to leave Hong Kong and go to Edinburgh. And it was a hell yes. Like it gave me wings to fly. Like the way of tea gave me wings to fly into the unknown, to to finally, for the first time, feel free to not have to know, to not have to have control over every aspect of my life. And I think that is one of the biggest things that really keeps me going in the things that I feel and expand into until where I'm at right now here speaking to you. And I know that sometimes it may feel like it's impossible because I have been there myself. I've been there where all I ever wanted in my life is to feel free, to feel happy for what I already have. All I ever wanted at that point in my life was like, I just want to stop. I just want to say, stop the chaos, stop the noise, all the expectations that are around me, and have a sense of who I am, have a sense of my own voice, inner peace, finally to feel free from external emotions, not have them control how I live my life, not have the outside world control how I feel day to day. And the more I dipped my toes, the deeper I went into the way of tea, the more I was able to really start to hear tea spirit speak. And the more I was able to have a sense of stillness in my own being. And you know what? Like, I was just looking back at the very first time, the very early days. Like, I didn't have the porcelain kettle and the teapot. Like, I was just drinking out of my electric kettle and rice bowls, like rice bowls. So I, I just want to make sure that this was really conveyed with all my heart that your seeking can finally stop. It is possible. I may not know my future from here on out, but I can tell you that if you feel like I felt years ago when I was asking for a sign, because all I ever wanted was to feel free, to be who I am, to feel free to serve. I was talking to a beautiful group of sisters just a couple of hours ago. I just said, what I really felt at the time was like I had everything I wanted, but I had this deep sense that I'm here to serve. I'm here to create an impact. And that feeling has always been in me. It's just that it's been buried and buried so deep down and piled on with layers of expectations and societal definitions of success. And if I looked back at my old journals, there's always that question. There was never like an intention, but like a question of like, how can I be of purpose? How, what's the whole point of me being here? You know, what am I here to do? And I think when I met Tea Spirit and I started to journey on the way of tea, it allowed me to really clarify my purpose and clarify who I am, and that who I am is still evolving. Like things can shift so quickly from one day to another, but the sense of deep anchoring into myself, like I've got this no matter what, like that is so priceless. And I wouldn't have that if you told me, if you met me prior to the way of tea. And how that's being cultivated is that sense of harmony. Like the way we come into ceremony is really a practice. It's kind of like what you would say yoga is or qigong. It's a practice of balancing heaven and earth. It's a practice of working with nature in this stage, this tea stage, you know. We've got all the elements present. We've got wood element in tea. We've got fire in the fire that boils the kettle. We've got metal in the kettle and the teapot. And we've got water, of course, the mother of tea, right? We can't do anything without water. And what else is there? Fire, metal, wood, okay, and earth. And earth. And earth. Earth is in this space. Earth is in here. It's even in the clay. It's in all of the things. It's holding that centrifugal point for all of us to connect. Gravity that brings us in here, that magnetized us into this energy field. And yesterday I was speaking to a beautiful group of women for the highest self activation, and I was talking about how you can be that transmuting energy field. It's a cultivation. You know, when I set up my tea ceremonies, I am intentionally setting up an energy field. It's not just the physical, but there is this unseen realm that holds us and connects us and binds us with each other and also with our ancestors and all those who come after us. So we are transcending time and space. And in that way, we are actually walking in harmony with our true essence. That true essence in us, which is made up of the same stuff as the ever expanding universe. Isn't that incredible? And that stillness you get to drop into is an invitation to drop into the stillness of your own being, because only then can you finally be free from the external chaos and start to hear what you truly are made of, what you truly want, how you feel when you feel yes, how you feel when you feel no. Because I never could used to be able to tell. This is the truth. I don't know if you're familiar with human design, but I'm a generator with sacral authority. And I remember when I first heard about this, I was like, but I don't even know when I want something or not, or whether it's a yes or a no. And so it took a while for me to really build that muscle back up. And even for someone like me, who's had a really bad relationship with her body, who's had a really bad relationship with herself, like I can sit here right now and tell you, I don't have any bad blood with all the insecurities or the feeling of not enoughness, even when they do come up for me today, any day, right now, yesterday, tomorrow, because I know that this makes up the whole spectrum of who I am. I wouldn't be complete without acknowledging them. And to discard them, to suppress them, and to ignore them is almost like a disservice to my highest self. Because if I suppress them, I'm suppressing my highest self, my highest gifts, my my truth. And so this is the work that I'm so passionate about. I'm here to really share because I want you to be free. I want you to know that you are multidimensional, and the feeling that you had maybe when you were a child, even when you were a child, you already knew that. You already knew that there's so much more than this physical expectation of who we should look like or how we should talk, and all of those things that we feel not enough of. And I would even go further to tell you that on my journey, I truly discovered that when I hold judgment or when I'm met with judgment, it's really just a feedback. It's like a reflection to tell me that, oh, right, if I have the judgment, I know that it's time for me to embody my power even more. And that's when I go to work with my body. I go to work with myself in the ceremony. I really sit and breathe, working with my breath, working with the energy field, right? Because the mind is here to really help us, to serve us. It's not meant to be here to be over controlling or overthinking. It's never been about that. So this has been really incredible because I used to be a huge overthinker. I would overthink everything. I would need to control everything. Even like in conversations, I remember back then that I would almost like script out the conversation before I have the conversation. And I have a beautiful mentor who would say that, oh my gosh, like, so many leaders are made on the couch. Like they would sit on their couch, leading from the couch, basically creating all the scenarios, and it never actually took place in the reality because they already they overthought in their head so much that they couldn't even go out. They were paralyzed by the indecisiveness and the overthinking. So that was me. That was me back then. And I really want to let you know that it doesn't have to be that doesn't have to be your reality. We get to decide how we want to live. And in order to make that decision with true conviction, we have to start to really come back to clarity of who we are, what is our purpose, and have that space to grow. Because, like I said today on one of my posts on Facebook, as adults, it's time that we realize that we are meant to continue to grow. We are always growing. And we are not meant to say, hey, I got everything figured out. And we got to stop beating ourselves up for that. We got to stop feeling bad about that. We don't have everything figured out. And that's the great joy of this life. The mystery is part of living. The mystery is the beautiful thing about life. And if we can step into a place where we practice to hold that mystery, I'm gonna tell you this, like it's so spectacular when you actually get it, because then you will start to perceive life so differently. You'll take that risk. You'll see how one step leads to another. You'll see how you're so divinely held, right? So if you are a visionary, please, I invite you, I urge you, do not do not dampen your message. Do not fear. Do not fear what will happen. Do not fear, because the truth is, if you could only see the amount of greatness that is waiting for you, and the people who are waiting for you to serve and show up, you can impact greatly just through who you are as you stand fully in your power. You're gonna be like, holy shit, like of course I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. And when you stand in that vortex of stillness with unwavering faith, unshakable truth, deep self love, it doesn't phase you. It doesn't phase you. And you get to really work in this space of true acceptance and harmony of your human your human experience, and also your truth as a spiritual being, right? That's what we really want to be. And hey, let it be known, when I was sitting there in my little tiny flat, I didn't know what it meant to be a spiritual being. But that all will come eventually. That will all be unveiled. And if you give yourself that chance to say yes to what you know deep down in you, you can feel so much waiting to be let out, waiting to be set free. Just with your sacred yes to going on this journey, whatever whatever journey it is for you right now, where you're sitting on the precipice of, your life will be so transformed. You will watch your life just exponentially grow. So I just want to share this today. I've gone on a little bit. This is my first episode, so hey, give me some grace. I'll get better at this. I just want to thank you for sitting with me today, taking it out of the tea room. More will come. I'm definitely committed to really serving you in a way that really brings this and merges this with real life experience, what we learn in the tea room, and setting it out into the world. And I hope to see you very soon. Thank you, my loves.